All right. Hey, this is Ricky Greer, RN BSN, cardiovascular operating room nurse, and I'm here in this class to talk about my book that I chose for my presentation. My book is Yes, 50 Scientifically Proven Ways to Be Persuasive. To start off, book was a fascinating read. I enjoyed it very much. It was very direct, and it gave awesome examples on the topics that were given. I'll say right off the top, one of my favorite things I enjoyed about this book was the way the book was organized. It's less organized like a story and more organized almost like an outline. It was organized with 50 points, and it was almost like a long paper with detailed points, and whys were given, and it was just a fascinating read. All right. Authors of the book include Noah Goldstein, professor at UCLA of Management Organization, teaches psychology of persuasion, has worked on this topic with both high-end businesses and the United States government. Along with Yes, he wrote a New York Times best-selling book called The Big Small. He has a PhD, an MA in social psychology, and a Bachelor of Science in Human Development. The second author is Robert Cialdini. He's a professor of psychology and marketing at Arizona State University. He's the president of Influence at Work. You might be asking yourself what Influence at Work is. I did some research into that. Influence at Work is a business that goes into other businesses with classes, seminars, in-services on team managing, team building, and training team leaders. Okay, this is a multinational business, and it's very effective, very successful, and it's pretty fascinating. I encourage you to go and read about that business yourself at some point. Continuing on, Cialdini, he also wrote the successful book Influence, a New York Times best-selling book on marketing. Steve J. Martin, he's the director of Influence at Work in the United Kingdom. If you remember what I said, Influence at Work is a multinational organization, and he is the director over there at the United Kingdom branch. He regularly writes for the Harvard Business Review. He works for LA Times, New York Times, and Wired, and he has written for the British Airways In-Flight magazine. Now, the purpose of the book is the book offers several elaborative points that essentially act as tips for the individual interested in learning persuasion. Okay, now backing that part up is that this book comes from the angle that persuasion is not an art. Persuasion is something that can be scientifically backed. Okay? And there's studies and information and statistics in the book that actually backs up that information. And I have some of those here that I'll share. Strengths of the work. It is a scientific and evidence-based project. It's a concise book broken into 50 chapter, I call them points. The writing, of course, is strong. Points are direct and specific, with the why always answered. An example, one of the topics in one of the chapters is a little goes a long way. All right. Now, there was a study done with Group A and Group B. What happened was Group A went around the neighborhood asking for a donation. Well, that group was less successful than Group B. Group B went around and asked for a donation, but included the phrase, "Even a penny will help." Group B was more successful in getting donations than Group A was because they asked for very little up front, just a penny. But at the end of the study, they showed higher donations achieved than Group A. Okay, that is one chapter in the book. Another strength: the book is broken into manageable sections. Each section is not too long. The longest section, the longest point they elaborate on, is 7 pages long, and they go from 1 to 2 pages. Most of them fall in between. So it's an easy read, and it's very manageable. You're not going through pages and pages and pages to achieve one chapter read. Another example I'd like to point out of this book is examples can be turned on or ideas can be turned on their head. What does that mean exactly? Well, an example in one of the points is don't be the smartest person in the room. Immediately, with the author, he's trying to write on a topic that's going to catch your attention. That immediately caught my attention. Why wouldn't you want to be the smartest person in the room? Well, the example they gave was sometimes you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to achieve something fantastic. The doctors that discovered the double helix of DNA were never considered prime DNA experts. In fact, they were a couple of doctors that questioned the established rules. That further led to them discovering the double DNA helix. Okay, so it's an interesting idea, and that's what this book does very well. Turn ideas on themselves. You don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. Shortcomings of the book. The book can sometimes over-elaborate on some points. Most of the time I find the book is pretty streamlined, but it can over-elaborate once in a while. And the book can get somewhat repetitive at times. Some of the points I've run across in the book, maybe 2-3 points that seem to be the same point in different wording. So, but both of those were kept both of these shortcomings are very minimal, and the book is, like I said, a fantastic read. The target audience of the book, though the book may be for any individual interested in learning persuasion, the target audience primarily are those who seek scientifically backed ways and methods of persuasion. I'll elaborate on that further here. So who would I recommend for the book? The book is recommended on several levels. It is a fun read for anybody with even the slightest interest in persuasion. It is recommended for those looking to improve argument skills in high school or college, particularly in debate papers. I wish I would have read this book at the beginning of my college career. I feel like there's a lot I could have taken from it in my debate and argumentative papers. Even reading it in high school, I feel like would have benefited me. This book is also recommended for businesses and government purposes, such as legal or ethical issues. And one thing, actually, one narrow little niche I found that I think this book would help out would be, it would be good for those studying law, such as lawyers. This is scientific, evidence-based back ways of arguing and persuasion. I really think it would be a good read for any of those studying law. So this is your target. Your target for the book, but honestly, for anybody that's just interested in a good read, it's worth it. Did the authors achieve the objective? I think the authors achieved the objective well. I think the points were well stated and well written. As I said before, overall, the best thing working for this book is how every section of the book allows each point to really be elaborated upon, while also keeping the book easy to navigate and fun to read through. You do not have to read this book from page 1 to page 193, I believe. You don't have to do that. The way the points are is like an outline. The points do not build on each other either. Each point is entirely independent from the previous point. You can skip through this book, you can bounce back and forth, and that really makes the book fun to read and useful to read. The book is, if you feel like you already know a certain point, skip ahead to the next point. If there's a really specific point you wish to learn about, you can go in there and read about that point and then put the book down. The book is very, very easy to navigate and read through as well. So in conclusion, it's a well-established, scientifically based book written by qualified authors. The book is about improving one's persuasion abilities. Target audience is wide. However, certain groups will benefit from it more than others. Again, I'm thinking about those high schoolers, those college students, and those in school for law. I see how this book can benefit them the best. The book is recommended, though, across the spectrum of readers. Okay, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate everything, and I appreciate you watching this, and thank you very much.